Hello everyone. Today we are going to begin with the last module, module 6, that is the applications of digital signal processing, and it gives me sheer happiness to say you that this will be the last module for the DTSP and or DSP subject. Now, the application has been divided into 4 to 5 sections majorly, so we'll cover all of those today. Now, the application include application of DSP for an ECG signal. So first of all will be these are the topics which are being pre-specified by the syllabus committee, that the specific purpose of your DSP should be mentioned for ECG or some different DTMF frequency and so on and so forth. So we'll go on and in-depth study in individual topics. Now, the application of DSP for the ECG signal analysis. Now, what the ECG stands for, electrocardiogram, which is the electrical activity of a heart. Now, it is related to somewhat your biomedical engineering. We won't be going that much into depth, but yes, we will be studying some some diagrams, some basic structure, so that we can understand where the application or where the exact application of DSP is being performed. Now, most of the biomedical signals are in the audio range, and DSP is widely used in many biomedical applications. The signals from the body are captured using your electrodes, but the major problem is addition of noise in such signals. To remove this noise signal, digital filters are used. Now, for the first example is fetal ECG monitoring. It is related to the it is actually used for measuring the baby heart conditions when a mother is pregnant. So we'll be studying that. Now, what do we mean by ECG? The electrical activity of a heart is called electrocardiogram. Now, the fetal ECG represents electrical activity of the baby's heart. It is similar to the adult ECG waveform. As you can see over here, you might have a diagram over here, the one which is presented over here. It it is similar. This one can be seen in in a baby as well as in an adult. Now, the fetal ECG, or it is also known as FECG, contains 5 peaks, namely P, Q, R, S and T over here. Now, the waveform is as shown over here. Now, the fetal heart rate, or the FHR, is obtained from the R to R interval of the waveform that is being present over here, R to R interval. Now, ECG is having a peak wave, a P wave, a chotu sa wave, then a QRS, that is a complex wave, and a T wave over here. Now, instantaneous heart rate is obtained by multiplying time interval between your R to R interval in milliseconds, but of course by 60,000. That is a fixed pre-decided medical term. Now, a suitable DSP algorithm over here, is used for successive QRS complex waveform, and from this the R to R interval is calculated. Now, it gives value of your corresponding FHR. Now, the shape of QRS complex waveform changes from patient to patient. The obtained ECG signal is compared with a known standard ECG, and then the location of that QRX complex is obtained. Is in the obtained ECG can be determined on the basis of some similarity, on the basis of some standard which is predefined by the medical term. So on the comparison of this actual QRS, that on observing the QRS complex which we have received from a baby heart activity, it can be compared to the ones which is being a standard term. Now, DSP based closed loop control anesthesia over here. Now, in case of surgery, the anesthesia is injected into a patient body. Now, the proper amount of drug to induce anesthesia is required to inject in the patient body. So yes, we will be proceeding further for some medical terms. Now, as you might be aware that anything extra of dosage is harmful for health. Similarly, extra amount of drug produces your side effects, as well as less amount of drug can produce your psychological consequences for a long term. So in another case, if a person is not completely unconscious while giving anesthesia, he might be conscious and he might be able to see his own operation, which might sometimes remain into his memory, and might what do you say, produce some psychological consequences. So we never know. So an exact amount of dosage has to be given in the case of what do you say, anesthesia. So it is required to make necessary changes in the dose of anesthetic drugs and to control the anesthesia. Now, using DSP, a closed loop system can be designed to monitor the doses of anesthesia, and it is an automatic system, but this system requires an accurate measurement of the depth of anesthesia, and it requires a feedback signal to monitor the delivery of the dose. But of course, if you give extra, it will be harmful. If you give less, it will produce some psychological effects. So yes, it is required that we do give it in a proper amount. So we'll discuss the closed loop system for EEG, or it is also known as electroencephalogram. Now, EFG represents the electrical activity of the brain, and it contains useful information for diagnostic of neurological disorders. Now, from the EEG signal, the features like bispectral index, auditory evoked response, that is in what do you say, in normal term, that is known as AER, bispectral AER. It is extracted, and then the depth of anesthesia is determined. Now, basically, AER signal gives the information from consciousness to unconsciousness condition of the patient, but these AER signals are usually small and they are mixed up with your EEG. EEG, as we had said, was nothing but electroencephalogram over here, the ones which we had mentioned. Now, so a proper system is required to extract this AER signals, and then we need to process it. So just a moment, beta. Now, a bispectral index over here. A bispectral index is obtained by performing the spectrum analysis of your EEG. As you can see over here, it is a closed loop diagram over here. Now, this closed loop actually gives information about the changes in the frequency components of your EEG at different consciousness level. So if you can see, this is the EEG monitor which gives you the different consciousness level. Now, a block diagram of DSP based control anesthesia system is shown over here. Now, EEG electrodes, for example, over here, the EEG electrodes over here are placed on the scalp of a patient, which generates your EEG signal, which is present over here, the EEG signal. Then, using suitable signal processing method, noise contained in the EEG is reduced. Now, EEG, that is the one present over here, monitor produces EEG index. So, which is nothing but a bispectral index, and it gives a measurement of the drug induced in the patient body. This EEG index is used as a feedback over here. Is used as a feedback signal, and it is compared with the target EEG index. So, the target EEG index is a standard value which is determined by considering many biomedical factors. The difference between target EEG, the one which we received after this processing EEG index, is a standard value which is determined by the considering many biomedical factors. The difference between the target index and the measured EEG produces an error signal, that is nothing but E of k. This signal is applied to a PID controller or a proportional integral derivative controller to generate the required control signal C of k. Now, the signal C of k is applied to pharmacokinetic, that is the one which is written over here, pharmacokinetic or pharmacodynamic model, and this model generates a signal I of k, as you can see over here, to determine the rate at which the drug is injected into a patient body. So depending upon how much the patient's consciousness is present, a specific amount of anesthesia is being inserted into the body of a of a patient undergoing some surgery. Now, the second type of application we have is the application of DSP for DTMF, or dual tone multi-frequency signal detection. Now, dual tone multi-frequency, what do we mean? Let us see first of all. Now, this is one of the hotshot questions for examination. You might consider it an important concept for your unit test 2 also. The date I might not discuss as of now. I'll see later on. Now, in the good olden days, the crossbar and Stroger exchanges were used in telephone set. The one which we see in previous movies, wherein some actual person used to sit at a telephone exchange and used to connect those wires. Those connections were known as crossbar and Stroger exchanges, which were used in telephone sets. But now, due to advancement in electronics, electronic exchanges have come into picture. Now, in this type of exchange, we use DTMF or dual tone multi-frequency signaling. Various frequencies are allowed to each digit in the are allocated to each digit in the push button keypad. It is shown over here, the one which is shown over here in the diagram. Now, as shown in the diagram, the frequencies assigned to one are 697 hertz, then and are the frequencies assigned to the digit 1 is 697 hertz, and also 1209 hertz over here. It is being connected to the digit 1 over here. Now, the main job of the DTMF decoder is to detect these two frequencies. First is the 697 and the another one is 1209 over here. Now, the detection of frequencies associated with each symbol can be performed by either a DSP or a DFT, which can be considered. Now, the DTMF decoder computes the DFT samples closest in frequency to the second harmonics of each fundamental frequency. Now, for example, what do we mean by fundamental frequency and what do we mean by second harmonics is like, if we have a radio station, say 93.5 Red FM, so 93.5 is your fundamental frequency and the frequency neighboring to that frequency is known as harmonics or second harmonics. Now, 93.4 and 93.4 and 93.6 will be considered as the second harmonics of the fundamental frequency, which is 93.5. So यहाँ पे the frequencies which are neighboring these two frequencies, one is 697 and the another one is 1209 hertz. This the second harmonics and the fundamental frequencies are being decoded. Now, the dialing tones are purely sinusoidal signals. Hence, the DTMF's dialing tones, the one which you press on your keypad on your cell phone, have negligible second harmonics in actual presence. Now, the DFT index K is related to your sampling frequency Fs, and the DTMF frequency Fk as f of k is equals to k into fs upon n, where fs is your sampling frequency and n is the length of your DFT, where it is being mentioned that n is but as I told, that is nothing but the length of the frequency. So for example, if your sampling frequency is say 8000 hertz or 8 kilohertz, as we do it for normal audio audio clips, or small audio samples. So either we take it as 8k or 16k, somewhere around that. So, and we take the length of the DFT to be 205, which is the best value at which your fundamental DTMF tones can be detected. So, substituting in equation 7.2.1, that is the one which was present over here, this equation over here, ye wala bacha. Now, assuming your f of k is 770 hertz, that means we are considering the row of 4, 5, 6 or B, the alphabet B over here. Then in that case, your f of k, your 770 is equals to k into 8000 by 205. So your value of k turns out to be 19.73, which is then rounded off to the value 20. Now, the display of x of k, or I would say mod of x of k versus your k, will show only one single component, as you can see over here, for a certain frequency. Say for example 770 hertz, and we are saying that for example, if we are considering the frequency 770k and if we are plotting the mod of x of k, that is the Fourier transform of your normal signal, and the k is the value of the what do you say, the coefficient over here, where k ranges from certain value 0 to n minus 1, then in that case, when it is around 20, the value, it will be having the maximum, what do you say, amplitude spectrum. Hence, thus there will be a significant component at k equals to 20, and all the other components closer to 20 will be negligible. As you can see, it is having very less, what do you say, amplitude in another terms. Now, the advantages of DTMF signaling. Now, the DTMF offers high dialing speed over your conventional rotary telephone set, the one which we see in old movies, the one which has circular, what do you say, dialing pads. Now, DTMF offers better stability, versatility, and multi-channel operation. The one which is being asked many times in examination is the digital telephony, or I would say the dual tone multi-frequency diffection, DTMF, using Godzill's algorithm. Now, it's called Godzilla, beta Godzilla nahi, Godzilla. Now, over here, the diagram is quite simple in nature. The Godzilla algorithm is a specialized IIR filter. We have completed IIR filter, so my students should be a little bit aware about it. They had it in your term test also. Now, Godzilla algorithm is a specialized, what do you say, IIR filter designed using a using a DFT. Now, for DTMF detection of 8 pairs of Godzilla filter are connected in parallel as shown, as you can see over here. Now, this diagram over here, what do you say, is for one sample frequency, say for 697 Hz, then we have for 770, then we have for 850, then we have for 941. Similarly, 8 filters, just like this, 8 more structures are being, what do you say, connected over here. It is just that due to space constraint, we have shown only one over here. Now, each filter pair detects a DTMF tone fundamental and its second harmonic output component. Now, if you have been listening carefully, then the speech signal which we speak generally has a considerable even harmonic, but your DTMF signal does not have any component. It doesn't have any second harmonic. So the second harmonic is required to distinguish between speech and your DTMF tone. Now, DTMF is like the one, the frequency which is sometimes being heard when you press those keyboard buttons. So we need to decode them at the receiver's end also, so that the numbers can be displayed on the telephone display. Now, the output of the filter over here is squared to measure the signal strength at each DTMF frequencies and their second harmonics. Now, the decision logic over here is used to defect the strongest signal pair from the high frequency to the low frequency groups over here. Now, structure of Godzilla algorithm. The structure is a little bit complex, but trust me, it is not that complex as we were expecting it to be. Now, each Godzilla filter is basically a bandpass IIR filter. The structure of this filter is shown in the figure, the one which is being depicted over here. Chotu sa beta filter hai, this one. This is a small kind of a filter with having a feedback at a certain level. Now, this is the second order structure having transfer function h of z is equals to 1 minus, wait, I'll just show you the equation beta. Now, h of z is, or the impulse response, is given by 1 minus wk by n into z inverse upon 1 minus 2 cos 2 pi k upon n into z inverse plus z raised to minus 2. Here, I don't need to specify now that your wk by n means your twiddle factor, which is nothing but e raised to minus j 2 pi by capital N. Now, the difference equation can be written as follows. W of n, if you can see this equation over here, it is nothing but the one coming from the left. So it is nothing but x of n plus 2 cos, what do you say, 2 cos 2 pi k into 2 pi k by n, which is nothing but delayed by 1. So w of n minus 1 will be multiplied with this term, as you can see over here. And you have one more term which is having double delay, that is nothing but w of n minus 2. So this entire thing is been given as an input again, and it is being causing a feedback effect over here. And your y of n is being given by w of n minus wk by n into wn by n minus 1. So these two are standard equations. We'll perform some mathematical operations so that we can understand it more better. Now, at your chotu n, at your chotu n equals to capital N, the equation becomes y of n equals to wn minus wk by n into wn minus 1. Now, what do we mean by wk of n? As we had seen for the twiddle factor, wk by n is nothing but e raised to minus j 2 pi by capital N. So, which can be split up into two parts using the Euler's identity as cos of 2 pi k upon n minus j of sine 2 pi k upon capital N. Therefore, your y of n is equals to w of n minus, we substitute this value cos of 2 pi k by n minus j sin 2 pi k by n over here in this equation beta. So w of capital N minus cos of 2 pi k by n minus j sin 2 pi k by n into w of n minus k over here. Now in that case, then we have your y of n is being nothing but, we just open up the brackets over here and your y of n is nothing but w of n minus w of n minus k into cos term plus j into w n minus k into your sine term over here. Now, for detection of your DTMF, only magnitude is required, so we take the magnitude square of the equation which is present over here. By taking the magnitude square, this term will be squared, mod square, then we will have the real term ka square plus the imaginary term ka square. So when you perform some complex addition and multiplication, this term is nothing but a plus b ka square types of terms, so it gets elaborated. This is nothing but simple terms, so it will be getting squared. Now, by performing mathematical operation, if you look carefully over here, we have taken the cos square and the sine square term common in order to just prove that they both are, the addition of both of them turns out to be 1, and your y of n square is given as w square n plus w square n minus k minus of 2 w of n, the original signal, into w of n minus k by some delay into cos of 2 pi k upon capital N. Now, this equation over here indicates that to calculate the magnitude, only the real coefficient, that is the one with the cos term, is required. So to calculate the magnitude of each DTMF tone, this equation has to be calculated only once over here. So once you have calculated this, it then gets stored into the memory of that specific processor, and it is being reused for various applications henceforth. Now, the advantages is only one real coefficient per DTMF frequency is required to obtain the magnitude of this signal. So if your signal is coming from 697 Hertz or from 770 Hertz, so it has to be only one coefficient for the DTMF is to be calculated. Now, small memory space is required and the execution is fast, since once if it is being calculated, it is being stored in the cache memory, or you can say it is being stored at an accessible memory, which is comparatively fast. Now, when the FFT is used, then the value of n is limited to n equals to 2 only. But using this algorithm, any integer value of n can be used. Now, in this algorithm, the processing starts as soon as the sample arrives. It will not wait for the complete data set. So it is almost like a real time, in other words, it would be like the real world application wherein the input is being processed at the very instant as it arrives at the input terminal. Now, the third type of application that we are going to look forward is the application of DSP for your radar signal processing. Now, the application find its importance in radar by a marginal amount, I would say. It has a very good importance over there. So yes, let us discuss that topic into detail. Now, the radar transmits, the modern radar, I would say, the modern radar transmits the radio signals at distant objects and analyzes the reflection. I guess by this time you might understand that how the radar works. Now, data gathered can include the position and movement of the object. Also, radar can identify the object through its signature, that is the distinct reflection it generates. Now, there are many forms of radar, such as continuous CW radar or Doppler or ground penetrating or synthetic aperture kind of radar, and they are used in many applications from air traffic control to weather prediction. Now, in modern radar system, your DSP is used extensively. Now, at the transmitter end, it generates and shapes the transmission pulses controls the antenna beam pattern, while at the receiver, DSP performs many complex tasks including STAP, that is nothing but space-time adaptive processing, the removal of clutter and beam forming. We'll be discussing all this in details in the further part of the chapter. For electronic guidance of beam forming is nothing but electronic guidance of your direction. Now the front end of the receiver for the radar is still often analog due to the high frequencies involved. Now with fast analog to digital converter, often multiple channels, complex high intermediate frequency signals are digitized. Now however, your digital technology is coming closer to the antenna, so we may also require fast digital interfaces to detect the antenna position or control another hardware. Now, as you can see over here, the diagram is somewhat simple over here. As you can see that we have an antenna system over here, which is connected to the receiver, and the antenna system is also connected to the transmitter, and another term is connected to the signal generator. It performs the circular path, so don't worry, we will be discussing each and every one of them in detail. Now, the main task of a radar signal processor is to make its decision. After a signal has been transmitted, the receiver starts receiving the return signal. So once the radar emits some kind of waveform, it expects that after a certain point or after a certain time period, it will start receiving the return signals. Now with those originating from the near objects arrive fast because of the time of arrival translates into the target range over here. So nearer the objects, the faster is their reflection signal, and faster is their range, or in another words, the nearby is the target range. Now the signal processor places a raster of range bins over the whole period of time, and now it has to make a decision for each of the range bins as to whether it contains an object or not. Now this decision is severely hampered by your noise. Now atmospheric noise enters in the system through the antenna, but all the electronics in the radar signal path produces noise too. So what has to be done? As you might remember that your chapter oscillations, it has a basic input, that is nothing but the noise present in the system. If a system is present in if noise is present into the system, the oscillator just starts working on itself, and it doesn't require any input signal to oscillate. It just picks up the signal which is present in the environment. Similarly over here you might have atmospheric noise which enters the system. Then we have many kind of high frequency passing through the antenna, so we need to make sure that a certain amount of frequency is only being acceptable at the antenna. Now major blocks of the modern radar system. The major components of the modern radar are the antenna, the tracking computer, and the the signal generator. Now the tracking computer is if you see over here the diagram over here. Now this entire part over here is known as the tracking computer. It is responsible for tracking and scheduling, for control, for clutter mapping, discrimination, range marking, interpolation, monopose computation. Don't worry, we will be discussing everything in detail today. And the last and not the least, the reflections which are being received at the receiver's end are being displayed on a receiver, and display processing is being carried out, wherein the nearby objects are being displayed very effectively, and the long range objects are being given a certain range. Now then we have the A to D converter, then we have the threshold detection, and many more to perform. Now the tracking computer in the modern radar over here does all the function by scheduling the appropriate antenna position and transmitted signal as a function of time. It keeps a track of the targets and running the display system. Now even if the atmospheric attenuation, just a moment beta. Now even if even if atmospheric attenuation can be neglected, the return from a distant object is incredibly weak. Now target returns often are no stronger than twice the average noise level, sometimes even buried under it. This is one of the most important problem that we will be facing. Now it is quite difficult to define a threshold for the decision whether a given peak is a noise or actually a real target. So if the threshold is too high, then existing targets are suppressed. That is, the probability of detection will drop or the PD will drop. Now if the threshold is too if the threshold is too low, then the noise peaks will be reported as targets. That is, the probability of false alarm, that is PFA, will rise on the contrary. So a common compromise is to have some 90% probability of detection and a false alarm rate of 10 raised to the power minus 6. It maintains a given PFA known as CFAR, or constant false alarm rate. Now, rather than keeping the threshold at a fixed point, so rather than keeping the threshold at a fixed point, your CFAR circuitry inspects one range bin over after the other and compares the signal level found there with the signal levels found in its neighboring bins. Now, for example, if the noise level is rather high in all of this because of the precipitation or the objects, or I would say the reflection returned from the objects, then the CFAR, or the constant false alarm rate, will raise the threshold accordingly. So it is a dynamic kind of a device which actually performs some threshold setting. Now, further tasks of the signal processor are combining information, then forming tracks, resolve ambiguities in the Doppler, or in the resolving ambiguities in the range or Doppler measurements, ground clutter mapping, time and power management, and countering interference. We'll study each and every one of that in detail, beta. Now, just a moment, let me adjust. Now, combining information. So the first task is for combining information. Now, secondary surveillance radars like those located on the airports can ask an aircraft transponder for information like height, flight number, or the fuel state in that specific aircraft. Now, pilots may issue a distress signal via the transponder also. Then the ground's radar. Now, the ground's radar signal processor combines this data with its own measurements of range and angular direction and plots them all together on the opposite spot on this specific scope. Then, the second important task of signal processor is forming tracks. Now, by correlation, the data sets Now, by correlating the data sets which were obtained in successive scan cycles, the radar can calculate a flight vector which indicates an aircraft's speed and expected position for the next scan period. Now, airport radars are capable of tracking hundreds of targets simultaneously, and flight safety depends heavily on their reliability. So, it is an important parameter for a radar. Now, military tracking radars use this information for gun laying or guiding missiles into some calculated collision point over here. Now, then we have resolving ambiguities in the range or Doppler measurements. Now, depending on the radar's pulse repetition frequency or PRF, the readings for range or Doppler or even both are ambiguous. The signal processor is aware of this and selects a different PRF when the object in question is measured again. Now, with a suitable set of PRFs or repetition frequency, ambiguities can be eliminated and the true target position can be determined. Then we have ground clutter mapping. Now, clutter is the collective term for all the unwanted blips on a radar screen. Ground clutter originates from building, cars, mountains, etc. And a clutter map serves to raise the decision threshold in areas where known clutter sources are located. Then we have time and power management. Then within a window of some 60° into 40°, phased array radars can instantly switch their beam position to any position in azimuth and elevation. The topics azimuth and elevation will be covered in the topic called as antenna. Don't worry as of it right now. Now, when the radar is tasked with surveying its sector and tracking dozens of targets, then there is a danger of either neglecting part of the search sector or losing a target if the corresponding track record isn't updated in time. So, time management. Now, the time management serves to maintain a priority queue of all the tasks and to produce a schedule for the beam steering device. So, power management is necessary if the transmitter circuitry runs the danger of overheating. If there is no backup hardware, then the only way of continuing regular operation is to use less power when less power is required, say for track confirmation. Then we have countering interference. Now, interference can be either natural or I would say it would be man-made. Natural interferences can be heavy rains or hailstorms, but also varied propagation conditions. Man-made interference, if created on purpose, is called jamming, and it is one of the means of electronic countermeasures. Then we have detection of signals. Now, detection is the process by which detection is the process by which the presence of the target is sensed in the presence of competing indications which arise from the background echoes, that is nothing but your clutter, atmospheric noise, or noise generated in the radar receiver. Now, the noise power, the noise power present at the output of the radar receiver can be minimized by using a filter, then whose frequency response function maximizes the output peak signal to mean noise. This is a ratio, signal to noise ratio, which is called matched filter. So if this ratio is being initialized, or I would say fixed at a certain point, then that value is known as a matched filter coefficient. Now, it is also known as Doppler processing. Now, Doppler processing is used to filter out clutter and thereby reveal fast moving targets. Such filters are implemented digitally. There, or in another word, we would say FFT, or a set of transversal filter. Cancellers are few optimized methods. Cancellers and few optimized methods are some of the clutter rejection techniques. Now, what do we mean by canceller? Now, clutter rejection filter amounts to the design of your FIR digital filter with stop bands to reject the clutter frequency component. A simple filter is a two pulse canceller. Now, if you look over the diagram over here, just a moment, beta. Now, over here you have a diagram. Over here you have a diagram which is nothing but a simple, canceller, I would say. And a two pulse canceller is used if the clutter component, assuming only DC signal, remains constant in a given range bin and can be eliminated by subtracting the output from two successive pulses. So, the transfer function of two pulse canceller, that is the one by delayed input and the one directly coming input. So, the transfer function of a two pulse canceller is equals to 1 minus z raised to minus 1, and it is equivalent to FIR digital filter with magnitude response of sine of omega by 2 over here. Now, in practice, the clutter have a power spectrum or the power range that covers frequencies above DC. The two pulse canceller will attenuate low frequency components but may not totally reject clutter. Now, a three pulse canceller with its transform function equivalent to FIR filter is, for example, 0.5 plus z raised to minus 1 plus 0.5 z raised to minus 2. This attenuates further the components near your DC signal. Then implementation of your clutter filter. The returns from the same range bin over several pulses are linearly combined to form the output per IPP. Now, each delay of D can be realized using some shift registers. The direction or the direct implementation of the optimum linear processor with n points require n multiplications per output point. This is where something gets a little bit twisty. Now, since a different optimum processor is designed for each Doppler channel, the filter tap weights are different for each channel. Now, a simple sub-optimum processor is obtained by cascading a 3-pulse canceller with a bank of bandpass filters implemented by a sliding FFT, and your n-point FFT requires n log to the base 2 n multiplications only. So only log n to the base 2 multiplications are required per each channel. The significant hardware simplifications are possible with this scheme provided its performance is adequate. For example, a moving target detector. So in this way, an implementation of clutter filter is being implemented. Then we move on to the topic of adaptive threshold and thresholding and automatic detection. Now, digital processing permitted the reference level to be generated or internally set from the observation themselves, thereby permitting more sensitive and faster threshold. So it gives us the liberty कि भाई आप एक certain threshold set कर सको. Digital processing ने हमें वो liberty दी. Now, most of the radars employ automatic detection circuits to maintain, or I would say ideally, a constant false alarm rate CFAR by generating estimates of the receiver output. Automatic target detection for a search radar can be achieved by comparing the processed voltage in each cell to first of all a fixed threshold level, then second threshold levels based upon the mean amplitude of the ambient interference, a level computed on the basis of partial or a prior knowledge of the interference distribution, and a threshold level determined by distribution free statistical hypothesis, something big testing that assumes no a priori knowledge of the statistical distribution of the interference over here. Now, in the first case, a detection decision is made if the processed signal, that is nothing but your R0, is equal to or greater than the present threshold. That is, R0 is greater than equal to a threshold, present threshold, or TP over here. A detection is declared. Now, the second and the third cases represent the adaptive threshold CFAR processors. Now, in these processors, estimates of the unknown parameters of the known distribution of the processed interference are formed. Then, in the second case, can achieve we can achieve a CFAR when the distribution of the processed interference is completely described by its mean level or the average level. The third case forms the estimates of the unknown parameters of the node, or I would say a priori distribution. And the fourth case, also called as non-parametric CFAR processor, this distribution free process forms a test variable whose statistics are independent of the distribution of the input interference. So this is completely independent of what your input is being given. It performs a test variable so that it can perform its operation independently. So this was all for the chapter of application of DSP. This completes your syllabus. So what has to be done from the next lecture, I'll let you know via the text message. So up till then, kindly do study, keep the assignments, or I would say submit the assignments on time, so that it becomes easier for you to study when it comes to final examination. So up till then, stay safe and thank you.